Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel, myself Janvi. Today I have come up with the second video on biology. Previous topic was on cell biology, and in continuation to that I would be discussing on cell growth and cell division. Before I start, if you like my channel and videos, please subscribe to it and share it with others. To summarize on what we will be learning on this topic, in this topic I have made the course into 3 parts, so watch all the 3 videos to cover all the topics. Hello friends, today's chapter is about the cell growth and the cell division. In this slide we are going to learn about the basics of cell cycle, different stages of mitosis and different stages of meiosis. Cell growth. What is a cell growth? A cell growth is nothing but an increase in the size or the mass of a cell, and it is called as irreversible process. What is the meaning of irreversible process? The process which cannot be reversed. That means what? Once a cell increases in its size or mass, you cannot reverse it back. You cannot reduce the size of a cell once it is increased. Hence we call it as an irreversible process. There are 3 types of factors affecting the cell growth. They are auxiliary growth, multiplicative growth and acceleratory growth. Cell cycle can be defined as entire sequence of events happening from the end of one nuclear division to the beginning of the next. The cell cycle divides into 3, namely chromosomal cycle, cytoplasmic cycle and the centrosome cycle. As we talk about the cell cycle, we have to remember the 3 cycles. One is chromosome cycle, cytoplasmic cycle and the centrosome cycle. So what is a chromosome cycle? Here, the DNA which is present are nothing but the double-stranded helical structures which get replicated and then inserted into the cell. This duplication of the DNA or the replication of the DNA will take place in the chromosome cycle. Next is the cytoplasmic cycle. RNA and proteins are produced in the cytoplasmic cycle. They also get replicated, and once the cytoplasm divides, along with the DNA, the RNA and the protein are also inserted into a cell. Then what is the centrosome cycle? The centrosome cycle is the one where you all know the spindle fibers which are formed during the mitosis is formed because of the centrosome. So the centrosome division is also important during the cell division. Hence these 3 will play a very important role during a cell division or a cell cycle. Cell cycle includes 4 phases. They are namely G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase and the M phase. Let's talk about G1 phase. What is the G1 phase? G1 phase is also called as resting phase or the first growth phase or the first gap phase. Here there is no DNA synthesis taking place. It is involved in the synthesis of only an RNA, which will be very important for the growth of the nucleus and cytoplasm. Here, the chromatin is fully extended but not converted as chromosome. G1 involves only the transcription of the 3 types of RNA. They may be rRNA, tRNA or the mRNA. And the G phase also produces certain proteins which are very helpful during the stages of mitosis, and enzymes which are produced during G1 phase will help in the synthesis of the DNA, namely called as DNA polymerase, which help in the synthesis of the DNA strand during the mitotic division. But we will talk about different types of enzymes which are involved in a DNA synthesis in the later stages. S phase is also called as synthetic phase, wherein replication of DNA and histone proteins takes place. The histone proteins are very important during the synthesis of the DNA strands in the daughter cells along with the nucleosome. The G2 phase is also called as growth phase 2 or the gap phase 2, in which synthesis of RNA and protein takes place, which are again required for the growth of the cell. And the cell directly enters into the M phase or the mitotic phase. Before the cell enters into the mitotic phase, it has to go through an interphase. What is an interphase? The combined form of G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase together we call it as an interphase. Once the cell enters into the interphase, then only the cell can go through a mitotic phase or the M phase. Here, the cell will prepare itself for the mitotic division. Before to the mitotic division, there is another phase called as interphase. What are the things which will happen in the interphase? It will go somewhat like this. The nuclear envelope remain intact. The chromosomes occur in a diffused, long, coiled and visible chromatin fibers. The DNA amount becomes double due to the accumulation of RNA and protein. The two centrioles are also present. Let's learn about a mitotic division. Mitotic division is mainly divided into four phases, namely prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. You can see in the interphase, here there is a nuclear membrane, here is the chromatin network, here is the nucleolus. But in the early prophase, the nuclear membrane starts disappearing, the centrioles will move towards the opposite poles, the chromatin network will condense into a chromosomes, and in the late prophase, the nuclear membrane will start completely disappearing, the spindle fibers are formed, the chromosomes will become more shortened and thickened, and nucleolus also disappears in the prophase. Pro-metaphase. In the pro-metaphase stage, we can see that disappearance of the nuclear envelope and spindle fibers are formed and they attach themselves to the kinetochore of the chromosomes at the metaphasic plate. Here, the chromosomes are pulled back and fro, and the kinetochore are capturing mainly the plus end of the microtubules growing from one or the other spindle fibers. Kinetochore act as a cap that protects the plus end from depolymerizing. Now chromosomes arrange themselves on metaphasic plate. With the help of this diagram, we can see what are the things or what are the changes will take place in the metaphase of the mitosis. Mainly you can see the chromosome will align themselves on the equatorial plate, and the centrioles are moved already towards the opposite poles, and along with this you can see the spindle fibers are formed here and they are attached to the centromere region of the chromosome. These yellow color one are nothing but the centromere, and the spindle fibers are attached to the centromere region of the chromosome, and the kinetochore region or the centromere region will protect the chromosome from depolarizing. That means what? The minus ends and the plus end, these are called the plus end, these are called as a minus end, okay, of the microtubule. So the kinetochore or the centromere will protect the chromosome from depolarizing, and all of them will arrange themselves on the equatorial plate. The main two changes which you have to recognize here are the main thing, the chromosomes align themselves on the equatorial plate and the microtubules are attached to the centromere region of the chromosome. These two important points are uniqueness of the metaphase. Here in the anaphase, using this diagram, I am explaining you about the anaphase which is seen in the mitotic cycle. Here you can see in the metaphasic stage, the chromosomes are aligned at the equatorial plate. But whereas in anaphase, we can see that the chromosomes will start moving towards the opposite poles. The pressure which is created will pull the centromere region of the chromosome towards the end. and the sister chromatids are formed. The main important change which will take place in the anaphase is the chromosomes will move towards the opposite poles, and it is the shortest phase, and the nuclear material will get divided into two equal halves. This one with one daughter cell and this one will be separated to another daughter cell when cytokinesis will takes place. Here in the telophase, we can see that the whatever the stage we have seen in prophase, all the reverse will take place in the telophase. With the diagrammatic representation, I am going to explain you about the telophase. The nuclear membrane appears, the nucleolus appears, the chromosomes will condense themselves into a chromatin in the telophase. With this, we have come to the end of the part 1 of this course. I will do quick recap of what we have learnt in this video and provide you the link for the later part of the course. Okay, in the part 1 of cell division and cell cycle, we'll learn about what is a cell growth, what do you mean by a cell cycle, what are the stages which are involved in cell cycle like G1 phase, S phase and M phase, and we also studied about interphase where G1, M and G2 phase together combine to form an interphase, and we will study about the mitotic division in detail, like what are the stages which are involved in mitotic stage like or mitotic division like prophase, anaphase, metaphase and telophase.